right, what's up, everybody? You're saying it's very static? Hold on. All right, what about now? Let's see. So I just unplugged the mic, but then I plugged it back in. Let me see. Alright, we're good? This is better? I don't know what happened. Let me see. I feel like these microphones have the lifespan of maybe 2 to 3 months. Anyway, hi everybody. We'll go ahead and get started here in a moment. So if you can hear me, and if we're streaming in 1080p... Oh, it's scuffed again? Let me see. Alright, we're gonna go without the mic tonight. I don't know what happened. Anyway. Alright, we'll get started in just a moment. Good to see everybody. Apologies for being late. Had to work crazy today. The boss needed something ASAP, urgently. But we're working on big stuff. Working on awesome stuff. Really excited about it. But yeah, we'll get started here in just a moment, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. When, like...
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks and Wall Street. Today is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. It is 10:09 p.m. Wow, 10 o'clock at night. What are we doing now? Eastern time in New York City. Again, apologies for being late. I had to work very, very late tonight. However, we are working on some amazing things. Hopefully I'll be able to share that with you all very soon. We're working on some interesting multifamily deals that we may bring to market. These are just absolutely gorgeous townhomes. So a lot of times when we do these walking tours on the live stream, right, we walk through places like Chelsea, the Upper East Side, Sutton Place, and even Hell's Kitchen, where they have these amazing, just beautiful brownstones and townhouses. And we're working a few deals on a couple, and some of them have been converted into full single family homes, and some of them are multifamily. They have anywhere between, usually it's normal to have between 3 and 6 units. All the deals that we're working are, fair market, so there's no rent stabilization or anything like that. But the buildings are just unbelievable inside. They're so old. Some of them are from the 1800s. I mean, these properties are amazing. But anyway, enough about that. Today, big day for small caps on Wall Street, and this is exactly what we wanted to see. The Russell 2000 ETF, ticker symbol IWM, was up over 2% on the day today. Amazing day, great price action for small caps. This is exactly what we wanted to see. Trading well above its 50-day moving average, closing over $209. I think if the IWM closes above 210, it's off to the races, and I think this year will test that previous record high set on November of 2021 at 244. So this is good news for the market. We want to see a sector rotation out of a lot of the large cap, the mega cap names into the small caps to let this market broaden out a little bit. Now tomorrow is Thursday, which is the last trading day of the week, and it's also when we're going to be sending out the Behind the Street newsletter. So if you guys have not signed up to our Substack just yet, just go ahead and type !news, NEWS, in the chat, and the Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack. We're going to be talking about a lot in the newsletter, particularly commodities. We're seeing commodities acting well here. We're also seeing oil stocks acting relatively well. We'll check out the energy ETF, which is the XLE. We had what I like to call an outside day. We actually sold off a little bit. We gapped down and then rallied throughout the day, closing at the dead high of the day on the XLE at $93.40. I think once we're over 93.95, this is in a new all-time record highs. So it's good. Well, depending on if you like energy stocks or not. So in tomorrow's newsletter, we're going to be talking about ExxonMobil, Chevron, Occidental Petroleum. A lot of these stocks are acting well. Today, ExxonMobil was up 1% on the day. Now, its previous all-time high was 120. It's forming a little bit of a cup with handle pattern here. But what does this mean for inflation? If energy stocks are performing well, if oil and gas stocks are performing well, we're also going to talk about the offshore drillers too. And if crude oil, ticker symbol CL, continues to hold above $80 a barrel, what does this mean for inflation? I don't know. We'll talk about it. All right, guys, we'll get started. If you're new here, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's go ahead and kick this stream off here live from New York City. Thanks so much for joining this late night stream. MD says new high in the S&P. We don't have a new high in the S&P yet, at least I don't think. I mean, we're pretty much there. Let me see. Maybe I'm mistaken. Yeah, no new high in the S&P today, but we're going to get there probably in the next day or two. The all-time record high on the S&P was 52.62. We're at 52.48, so we're pretty much there. I guess it doesn't even matter. All right, give me a minute. All right, God bless America, right? You know, even though it's a Wednesday night and it's almost 10:30 at night, I feel as if the city is pretty lively. This is kind of cool. People are coming back from Times Square. People are coming out of Carnegie Hall. Feels like a very lively night in Manhattan. This is a beautiful shot of 157. So 157 West 57th Street here. Stunning building on Billionaires Row. You could also see the very top of the Essex House. Now, unfortunately, we're going to have a rainstorm rolling in. I think it's going to rain from, I think about 2 o'clock in the morning all through tomorrow. So we'll see. This is the Park Central Hotel. Desi's here, DC322. I see Sally, what's going on? Joe Hernandez, Dutchman, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Michelle, Abdullah, Muhammad. What's up, everybody? Hawaii. Good to see all of you. And you know what performed really well today? Home builders also off to the races yet again. Performing really, really, really well. Brad's is my one share of DJT rebounded a little bit today. Now, I was looking into some of the filings for Truth Social DJT. This company only brings in a few $million in revenue. That seems a little bit crazy to me. I think it's trading at like a $3.5 billion valuation on less than $3 million in revenue or something crazy. So we'll see it. We'll see it when they report earnings, I guess. It's just all weird stuff going on. Stan says no more replacement parts. exclusive to the brand in Oregon starting next year. What do you mean? Let me scroll back. Maybe I missed another comment from Stan. Apologize if I did. Oh, electronic repairs will be done. I don't know what you mean. Troy Atman, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Somebody says the audio is still really choppy. Interesting. I don't know, because I don't have the microphone in. Maybe it's my phone. Maybe I need to get a new phone. Who knows? SoCal Lawrence, always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for joining us. KML says, great night in New York. Yeah, it's a beautiful night for a walk. It was raining a little bit, little teeny bit rain on and off. Now everybody's saying the audio is fine. It may be like an internet issue on the user's end. I don't know. YouTube is always interesting. There's always some sort of technical difficulty, right? Now, I'm really interested to see what is going to be done about this big vacant lot. I mean, this thing must have to be worth, millions, right? It's so weird to see a very substantially sized vacant lot right at Midtown Manhattan, particularly headed all the way into Times Square. This is like prime real estate here. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. It's probably going to be some sort of super tall. It's weird, right? I don't know if the stream does it justice, but just very uncommon to see land in the middle of Manhattan, like buildable land. Now, 2 blocks down, or excuse me, I should say a block over, this building is going to come down. They're already starting the demolition on it, and that was the old headquarters to Bad Boy Entertainment. Love the beaches here. What's going on? Thanks for joining us. Talk about resiliency in the market. Even after we heard from one of the Fed presidents today, they kind of played his speech on CNBC today, and very against even one rate cut in 2024. So it seems as if you have a few Fed presidents that are split, but the main narrative coming out of the Fed is that there is going to be at least 3 rate cuts in 2024. I'm still sticking to my guns. I don't think that's going to happen. We'll see. Desi, thanks so much for your very generous and kind $5 donation. I appreciate you. What do you guys think? It seems as if there is a ton of both foot traffic and vehicle traffic tonight in New York City. Probably because tomorrow is the last day of the work week, right? It's Good Friday on Friday, and then it is Easter weekend. So I'm assuming everybody's pretty much taking off, maybe starting their holiday weekend a little bit early. If the weather's nice, this weekend in the city, particularly on Easter, is going to be absolutely crazy packed, which is good to see. UniJ23, what's going on? Says there will be a star-studded fundraiser for Biden tomorrow, Radio City Music Hall. Really? I didn't know that. There's going to be a Joe Biden fundraiser at Radio City. Now, you know what's interesting, everybody? It seems as if politicians are always, having their hand out begging for change, right? Always begging for money. And I'm curious, like, what do they actually use it for? Yeah, I guess they run political advertisements. But I'm curious to see the data on if any of that stuff actually converts. I mean, has anybody here, and maybe you have, be honest about it. Has anybody here ever watched a political advertisement and said, oh yeah, that's really gonna persuade my opinion? To me, it just comes off as like this cringy propaganda when it's like too blatant. Now, I haven't seen a political ad, like a true political ad, in a very, very long time on the TV, because I don't have a TV. But where I do get political advertisements, or solicitations, if you can call them, is in my email. And I always click unsubscribe, but for whatever reason, I still get them. And I get them from both sides of the aisle. I get them from Democrats and Republicans. I get Donald Trump's spam mail every day. It's relentless. It's relentless. And I unsubscribe every day. And I get Governor Kathy Hochul begging for change in my email box almost every day too. Almost every single day. Kathy Hochul. Yeah, I just get all this nonsense. And to me, maybe not for some other people in the country, but to me, it's just the most like pandering, bottom of the barrel, just cringe. I don't even think it's persuasive at all. If anything, it just pushes me away from everybody. Does anybody else think the same? Anybody have any disagreements? Grant says Trump just fundraising for his social media and his election prospects or fines. Carol says I get texts from Trump. Sometimes I get a text from the Biden campaign. The cell text is moved to spam folder for sure. I just feel as if it's wasted money, to be honest. I think those funds could be appropriated better somewhere else. Although, maybe it's just some sort of huge money laundering scheme. You never know. I was looking at some of the statistics, and who was that other Republican candidate? I forget her name. She was like almost the front runner with Trump. I forget her name. Anyway, but she was spending so much money, like a crazy amount of money running political ads. And I'm like, what a waste. I mean, we could use that money to do other things, like to do productive and good things. I don't know. I guess you have to advertise. It's like a subliminal messaging, but Nikki Haley, yes. That's the candidate. Combat Jones says, I looked at Meta's ad library the other day. Biden spending $1.5 million a month. Wow. Crazy. Well, I guess it's good for Meta. I guess it's good for Google. But yeah, political ads, I mean, that's a huge part of the business. I'm sure Zuckerberg is expecting to rake it in like crazy over the next coming months as we head towards the election. But I just don't find them persuasive at all. I don't know who these politicians are consulting with, but any of the political advertisements that I've seen are not persuasive. If anything, they're just hit pieces about the other person. I don't know. What would be hilarious, though, now that DJT Truth Social is now public, maybe the Biden campaign should start advertising on Truth Social. That'd be pretty hilarious. But yeah, I was looking into some of the filings there. I think $2 or $3 million worth of revenue for the entire company, and it's trading at like a $3 billion valuation, which is nuts. All right, we're coming up on 6th Avenue. Hey, Trade Brigade, what's up? This is RFK and Vivek. Talked a lot about what they were going to do, not just like the smear campaigns and what they're doing now. Oh, for sure, yeah. Yeah, I was watching this interview with Mike Novogratz, who's former Fortress guy, Fortress Investments. Now he runs Galaxy Digital. And he was saying, he's like, the politics is the dirtiest game ever. Just so dirty, the dirtiest game you could ever think of in your life. And if you really think about what that means, not to make the whole stream about politics, but it's a late night stream. Anyway, we're on way late. But since politics is so difficult and so laborious and so dirty, in and of itself, it attracts people that are just complete sociopaths, right? I mean, look at all this stuff, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a Trump supporter, you're not a Trump supporter, you're a Biden supporter, you're not. But look at all of the crazy things that these people have to go through, right? Now, the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, you know, if you're Fox News or any other right-leaning platform, you've been berating and hammering the Biden family about that to the point of ad nauseum. Like, I don't know if I could take that pressure. Now, if you're CNN and pretty much any other major, you know, left-leaning news organization, that guy almost just got crushed by that car. You've been just droning on about Trump's family and January 6th. I don't know, honestly, if I could take that pressure. I would totally crack under pressure. So you kind of have to give these politicians a little bit of credit, because I don't know how they just don't go absolutely insane. I mean, the media has been going after Trump so just unbelievably for years, and the guy seems like he's not even fazed. Same thing with Biden. It's relentless, and Biden is over 80 years old. Imagine an 80-year-old man getting relentlessly berated every single day. It's just craziness. It's just absolutely craziness when you kind of remove yourself from the situation and really think about it. It's nuts. Well, anyway, guys, back to some financial talk. Today was a very, very good day for oil and gas stocks. The XLE had what I like to call an outside day. Now, the XLE actually gapped down on the open and rallied throughout the entire day and closed at the dead high of the day. If you look at ExxonMobil, Occidental Petroleum, Chevron, all performing really, really well. This is the best halal food place in the city right here. It's called Adele's Famous. This place is awesome. If the line wasn't 2 hours, I'd probably eat here a lot more often. This place is amazing. Not sure if anybody in the chat likes halal food, but I do. It's one of my favorite things to eat. I don't eat it all the time, but I would say it's one of my favorite categories of food. It's very good. But I think we need to think about what this means, right? It's good for the general market, right, to kind of lift the market higher as you have a lot of the tech stocks backing off. We have this recycle, I should say, a rotation. Commodities are doing well. You're starting to see a strong rotation in the commodities and oil and gas stocks and energy stocks in particular. Massachusetts News Corporation. Hey Brad, what's going on? Good to see you, Brad's brain. Grand Street says no food is worth the 2-hour line. I think the longest I've waited ever for Adele's, I think it's about an hour and 40 minutes. Probably about 2 hours. Probably right around there. It's good. That place is really, really good. I have to give them credit. Now we're at the New York City's Diamond District. We might as well make a left and walk down the Diamond District today. We'll talk about precious metals. Now, where's gold futures trading at right now? We'll go to the bullion dealer and we'll see. Yeah, Troy Atmans' earnings next week. Home Depot, eBay, Alibaba. Yeah, Coinbase. I'm actually very interested to see that report. Hold on, I gotta plug in my phone. My phone's already dead. It's been a very, very long day. Pull off to the side here. Hey, Tariq, what's going on? All right, give us a second. I gotta plug in the phone. Dario, we are close. To Steinway and Sons. Hey, LB, thank you so much for your very generous and kind. Mark says, what happened last night? I don't know. What happened last night? But thank you so much, LB. Trade Brigades is $2,215. Yeah, you have an environment where gold is performing really well. Pretty much all precious metals are performing really well. Also, Bitcoin is performing very, very well too. So you have commodities doing really well. You have precious metals doing really well, and you have Bitcoin doing really well. What is that? What is the market kind of telling us? I think the market's telling us that inflation is going to be ingrained above 3%. Platinum 900, gold 2194, silver 2462, and palladium 992. See, New York City's Diamond District is so fun to visit, particularly during the day. But at night, it's a ghost town, obviously, because they lock everything up tight and they don't have anything on display. Yeah, Dutchman says oil up, inflation up. And I believe during an election, since it's an election year, people are not really trusting the geopolitical environment. That's why they're headed towards more safe haven assets like gold. right? If you have an environment where people are piling into gold and very scarce, and we should probably get away from this traffic stop. Let me go across the street. 2 nights ago, there was unfortunate, just horrible event that happened in Far Rockaway, Queens, at a traffic stop. Really terrible, resulted in the death of an NYPD officer. I think the former president is going to be traveling to Long Island to attend that funeral, I believe. But anyway, I think this could be an interesting way to position our portfolios. Because if you go to the XLE and you zoom out on a monthly time frame, and we're gonna include all of these charts in tomorrow's newsletter. So the Behind the Street newsletter is gonna be sent out tomorrow, right as the market closes. If you wanna sign up to receive that, you could type !news in the chat, NEWS, and it'll drop the link to our Substack. But this thing looks primed and ready to go. It's been building a handle for over a year. I mean, just type in ticker symbol XLE on your TradingView, Bloomberg Terminal, whatnot. Go to a monthly time frame, and this thing rallied right throughout 2021 and has been building over a year base, or I would say a year handle, at the top end of this thing's range. And I think this thing is going to blow over the top into new record highs, particularly if we can have crude oil inch up towards $90 a barrel for the summer. That's what Occidental Petroleum's telling us. That's what Chevron is telling us. That's what ExxonMobil is telling us. And I believe ExxonMobil and Chevron, those two stocks, make up about 40% of the entire XLE. So this is important. This is an important rotation to watch. It's the Marsh McLennan building. Hey, who dat Dave? What's up? Hey, Trade Brigades. It'll be like a smaller fractal version of gold. Gold had a massive cup and handle on the monthly chart. Yes. Now gold, to trade, very good point by Trade Brigade there. If you go to zoom out on a monthly time frame, and then you can really see this better on tradingview.com. Go to gold futures and zoom out on a monthly time frame, and it'll show you the gold price going back to the 70s. Gold is one of the most perfect cup with handle patterns I've ever seen in my entire life. The only chart that's a better cup with handle than gold is Japan. We'll wait until this FDNY crosses here. Hopefully everybody's all right. Looks like the ambulance is turning into Times Square. But that's another thing that's coming out now. I'm very, very bullish on Japan in a major, major way. That's into new all-time record highs now for the first time since 1989, since before I was born. So, you know, usually they say the bigger the base, the higher in space. We were writing about that too. We've been writing about Japan like a year and a half ago, you know, saying that this thing is going to make a big move to all-time highs. And if you look at how Japan trades, it tends to trade exactly like that. It'll have these very, very long cyclical bull markets for 10 years, 20 years. And then the thing will go dormant for decades, literally decades. Very similar price action to gold. You'll have these massive parabolic runs, and then you'll have these very, very long drawn out consolidations. Now, I'm really, as you guys know, I put more weighting and more credence on the fundamentals. However, I was taught something very, very important by a very respected hedge fund manager on the street, James Ropel, CEO and founder of Ropel Capital Management. And he says there's a very high correlation between, I should say, the likeliness of the charts and the fundamentals. So if you're looking at something and it's a beautiful chart, you know, it's not super volatile, it's not all over the place, it's trending very nicely. You know, it'll come back to its 50-day, it'll get support at the 50, and it'll bounce off and it'll trend again, it'll form perfect bases, and the range is very, very tight. That's a sign of very intense institutional sponsorship and accumulation. And if you work backwards on that, you'll say, oh, there's no wonder why this chart looks perfect. It's because the earnings are ramping, the sales are ramping. It has great pre-tax and after-tax margins. It has extremely high return on equity. So, you know, if you look at something, if you pull up a chart of anything, right? And even if you don't know anything about the fundamentals, you can have a pretty good guess on what the fundamentals of the stock are, right? You know, if you showed a monthly time frame of Nvidia and you ask somebody a question, is this company making money or is it not making money? Well, there's a pretty high probability the answer is it's making a lot of money, right? If you showed somebody a chart of Zoom, right, ZM, on a monthly time frame, and you knew nothing about the company, and you said, okay, tell me what you see here, you're probably like, yeah, that's probably not a very good business. Most of the time, right? Yes, there's mispricings in the marketplace. Yes, there are opportunities for activist investors to come into the company, get board seats, turn the business around, and then you could trend upward again. But generally speaking, right? And this is kind of how I was taught. You should always, always, always focus for your idea generation first on the fundamental factors. But oftentimes, the technicals will almost always line up with the fundamental story. Because the big mutual funds, the big players on Wall Street, let's say if you work at a big mutual fund, right? Let's say if you work at a big company like Fidelity, and you know, you're an analyst and you're working for the mutual fund manager and you're covering all these stocks, and you find that this particular company has 4 quarters of accelerating sales, 4 quarters of accelerating earnings, they have margin expansion, and they're coming off 2 beat and raise quarters. Well, you're probably going to go to your PM, right, the portfolio manager, and recommend the stock. They're going to start a starter position, and then that's going to get around all the different Fidelity mutual funds. Next thing you know, Fido has like a $12 billion position in this thing, right? And then you'll notice more and more top players being involved in the stock. And when you have those liquid leaders, it compresses volatility, and these stocks trend very nicely. Everybody, this is the Bryant Park area of New York City. They finally took down the Winter Village too, so there's no more ice skating rink here. They quite literally rolled out the lawn. For those of you who don't know, when they take down the ice skating rink at Bryant Park, they import the lawn, and it comes in these huge drums. Like, you ever been to a farm and you see those hay barrels? It's kind of like that, and they roll out the facade. Takes about a month and a half for the grass to settle, and then it opens up for everybody to use. It's pretty cool. I think it may be closed, but we'll see if we can get a quick sneak peek at what the lawn looks like. Bryant Park is one of the best places to come in the summer if you're working in Manhattan and you're on a lunch break. You go grab a cup of coffee with your coworkers, you just hang out in Bryant Park. It's a great neighborhood, great area. And you also have the Steven Schwartzman building right here too. Now, Steven Schwartzman, everybody obviously knows him. I always recommend this really good book recommendation. It's called What It Takes. So What It Takes by Steven Schwartzman. He is the CEO and founder of Blackstone. And the book is all about how he created and founded Blackstone. If anybody's interested in a career in private equity, or maybe you already work at a private equity shop, that is a great resource. And that is the Steven Schwartzman building right there. Sometimes they leave the other gate open, we'll see. Optimus 17, what's going on? Thanks for joining the late night stream. Apologies for being late. Now, a little bit off topic, but I was reading the journal today. There was this crazy article about how the job desirability. Oof, look at that guy. Damn, that guy jumped all the way up there. I don't even know what I was talking about. That was a big rat. It was a big rat. Oh yeah, AI. So companies, they mentioned this particular company, Databricks. They're publicly traded too. They're looking specifically for engineers who are well experienced and well versed in LLMs, machine learning, right? Large language models, machine learning. And some of these compensation packages, guys, are 7-figure comp packages. So if you think about the top paying careers, right? Generally speaking, in like the tech finance world, it's usually the quantitative researcher. But a lot of these startups and even major big companies like Microsoft are now offering sometimes 7-figure comp packages to the best engineers that are well versed in large language models and the like. Amazing. There was this story about this guy that left sort of like a retention package. A lot of times if you get another offer somewhere else at a competitor, your company will offer you like a retention package. So Microsoft offered this guy $1 million to stay, right? To not leave Microsoft, right? As a kind of retention package. But he left to this startup to go make way less, but he got a significant amount of equity. I wouldn't say significant, but he got equity in the company, right? I mean, even if you get, if you get 1% equity in a startup, that is a lot of equity, by the way. That's like ridiculous. But if there's a high probability that that company goes public, I mean, think about the 50th employee or the 10th employee, the 20th employee at Facebook, something like that. I mean, those guys are worth billions. It's going to be interesting to see how the tech talent really shakes up. I think this is going to create a lot of speculative excess. I think there's going to be a lot of expectation letdowns, so to speak. But if you think about the job market, this could drive up incomes. And that's another negative for inflation. But if you're working at a tech company in an engineering role and you're well versed in AI and building these LLMs, well, maybe you could seek value elsewhere too. Yeah, that's true. Trade brigades, or just acquired by a monster parent company such as Microsoft. Yeah. That's true as well. On 5th Avenue. And here we are. Steven Schwartzman building. Look at that. You have patience and fortitude are the two lions here. Let me catch up on some of the chats. Hey, Zabatata, what's going on? Yeah, that's the thing about New York City. It doesn't really matter what neighborhood you're in. You're gonna have rats, unfortunately. Now, I'll give you guys maybe a warning. Now, I was gonna say, I'll give you guys a tip. I'll give you guys a little warning. In my opinion, the most rats ever in the city is located directly across the street from the Plaza Hotel. It's unfortunate, I know. So not to kind of burst your bubble, but that park with the fountain in it right outside the Plaza, on a summer night, if you walk in that park, not kidding, it looks like the fountain is physically moving with rats. There's so many rats there. There was even an article, I believe, that came out in the New York Post that listed all of the major hotspots in Manhattan for rats. And I think that may have been number one, actually. But it makes sense because it's right there on Central Park and it has the water right there. There's the big reservoir. So the rats go and eat all the food on 5th Avenue. Then they, jump in that little lake, the little reservoir. Hi, this is a beautiful shot of the Chrysler building here and One Vanderbilt. I think I've said this multiple times, but we do have a lot of new people here. If you want to do something really, really cool and you're visiting Manhattan, go ahead and make a reservation at the Centurion Lounge at the very top of One Vanderbilt. The thing is amazing. So if you have any, you don't have to have I think there was some rumors circulating that you need a black card. You don't need a black card. You just have any regular American Express card, I think. You just call the number on the back of the card and you can make a reservation to either eat in the dining room or just hang out in the lounge. Unbelievable views. I think those are some of the best views I've ever seen of the city. It's literally like you're eye level with the spire of the Chrysler building. It's awesome. You're looking directly down into Bryant Park. Amazing experience. Hey, Joel PM says, I'm seeing AI making its way in at my employer to help enhance customer service and marketing. I mean, there's a very high probability that AI can take over the job of a customer service agent. Now, I'll tell you why I think that. Did anybody see the most recent AI bot that was going around on X or Twitter? And it looks so real. This was the first AI that I've ever seen that looks actually 100% real. You guys have got to see this. I forget the account, but if you just look around on X, you'll find it. I think I may have retweeted it. But this AI is so real, and it was promoting some sort of skincare product or some sort of deodorant product, and you could not tell, like if you looked at it and you watched it a couple times, you could not tell that that was an AI. And this is just what it is right now. Could you imagine what that's going to be like in 10 years? I mean, the thing looks so real. It was as if, I mean, you could probably make a whole movie with just AI generated characters. Very interested to see how that's going to turn out over the next few years. Didn't sound robotic at all, didn't sound monotone. It was crazy. Hey, Kristen S., good to see you. Let's take a little detour and go inside Grand Central. I haven't been in there in a long, long time. Now you have the new East Side Access Project, where the Long Island Railroad will now take you to Grand Central Station, so you don't have to go all the way to Penn and take the subway to Times Square and then the shuttle to Grand Central. You can just get off right here and go to work, which is great. Chris says a one-bedroom in Manhattan starts at $3,600. No, you can get a one-bedroom for less than that, but you're not going to be in Midtown.
This guy is so unbelievable.
I mean, Manhattan's a big place, right? Technically, you know, you could probably get a pretty big two-bedroom apartment in Manhattan for $3,600, but you're going to be up on 200th Street. That's pretty much the Bronx. It just really depends. But if you want to be in Midtown, you know, a very, very desirable neighborhood where you're close to trains, close to a lot of the public transportation, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit pricey. Now, the reason why I was late, by the way, which I apologize for, we're working on a few really, really cool deals right in Chelsea. Now, these are beautiful townhomes. A lot of the times when we walk around the Upper East Side of Manhattan, the Upper West Side of Manhattan, you see those big, beautiful brownstone buildings and the townhomes. We're working on these two deals that we may bring to market. Now, they're multi-family. A lot of things that, well, I should say some of the things that have been happening, which has been reducing the rental supply on the market, is a lot of these older townhouses in Manhattan. A lot of them are 3-family, 4-family, 5 units, total. They're a mix of studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedrooms, right? But a lot of very, very wealthy families have been buying out these townhomes and converting them into full single-family homes. So make a massive 8-bedroom, 5-bathroom mega mansion in the city. So the deal we're working on, I can't give you the address yet, but we're getting ready to bring it to market, hopefully. What we try to do is we try to pitch it to investors first. But these are, I would say almost everything is absolutely original about these two townhomes, except the kitchen interiors. And the bathrooms have been a little bit updated, but not much. The floors are all original. I mean, the thing looks insane. It looks crazy. But I mean, the one bedrooms are renting for $3,600. So I was running the comps. You know, you have to build like a very, very basic, model to show potential investors what the NOI would be, what the cash flows would be, and what the cap rate is. And it's right on 22nd Street, so right in Chelsea. Amazing properties. So we were there today, and I was doing all the comps for that. Now that's another thing, right? The reason why I kind of bring it up, we were talking about rents, but that has been a big point of criticism for a lot of, activists in the city. They wanted to propose legislation to essentially ban people from buying these townhouses and converting them into just single family. Because oftentimes what happens is those individuals that are doing the conversions into a single family home, they don't even live in it most of the time, right? You know, maybe they live in it for 4 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year, and they just kind of sit there and they go over the top. Some of them have swimming pools inside. I mean, a lot of the product, particularly on the Upper East Side, there's some beautiful, beautiful properties up there. All right, so we've just walked through Grand Central. Look at the architecture in here. This is gonna bring you out to Lexington Avenue, right at the Chrysler Building. Phew, geez. Somebody said Canada announced national rental control today. Yeah, that's probably, I agree, exactly the opposite. Not a big Justin Trudeau guy, but, you know, big fan of Canada, just not a big fan of Trudeau. Well, it's starting to rain, everybody. And here we have the Chrysler Building. Luckily, I have my umbrella. Let me go get it. All right, let's start to head back up towards Columbus Circle. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. I like to get the shot of all the taxi cabs. And click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams every single night starting at 8:30 usually. Joel PM's Rent Control is a great way to crush investment. Agreed. Yeah, you know, I always say this, almost every single time, like clockwork, the government tries to pass a new law or pass a new piece of legislation in hopes or with good intentions to make things more affordable for the masses. It actually almost all the time winds up doing the exact opposite and making things much, much more expensive. I mean, a lot of these rent stabilization laws in Manhattan and in New York City in general is directly responsible for bringing off market about 70,000 to 100,000 apartments off the market. And that's because they need a little bit of work. The landlords could potentially, you know, renovate these apartments and get them rent ready, but they're not going to invest the capital to do that if they can't make any money. So what's happening is they're just letting these apartments sit totally vacant and empty. So imagine what a waste that is. 70,000 units across the city. They could be housing people and be brought back on the market, but they will never be brought back on the market because the landlords are like, you know what? If I need to invest 50 grand into this thing, but I'm not allowed to raise the rent to fair market, is what it's called. Well, I'm not going to make any money, so why am I going to have that capital outlay? So they would just rather have those units sit completely empty, which is what's been happening. Midtown East 46th Street and Lexington. Caddy says, how do they make money if they sit empty? They don't, they just sit empty. So if you have, let's say 50 units, but a portion of the building is rent stabilized, then you're going to rent out the fair market units and you're going to leave the rent stabilized units empty. The city actually looks pretty cool tonight in the rain. Hey, Bree Grams. Good to see you. This is East 47th Street. Let's take a look at 270 Park from this angle. So we're now looking up at Jamie Dimon's brand new office tower, 270 Park. You can see the big crane boom hanging off the side. Dutchman, what's up? DJ Chris. Hey, the ABX girl says, hi Tom, I just read an article in the US. The percentage of homelessness goes up every $100 increase. Some rents have gone up $500. In the US, percentage of homeless goes up every $100 increase. Interesting. Yeah, feel free to put the article in the chat. Trade Brigade, I don't think I've heard of them. Hold on, I'm just trying to juggle a few things here. I think that'll be a little bit better. Chris's rents are not going up. Your dollars are worth less. Inflation spirals out of control. Generally, yeah. But in some cities like Austin, Texas, where they've actually been building product, rents are coming down a little bit, which is good. Now, if you type exclamation point CPI in the chat, so exclamation point CPI, it's going to give you the infographic where you can kind of toggle back and forth between the individual categories of inflation. And if you just leave shelter and the headline number up, you'll see what a laggard shelter is, right? So shelter costs are the biggest laggard, but they have been collapsing and coming down month over month for the past year and a half. So in many parts of the United States, rents are actually coming down, and home prices are coming down from those astronomical levels, which is a good thing. And we were talking about this because, you know, there's a lot of these fear-mongering, you know, macro accounts on X and, you know, all over the internet, where the first narrative, right, that they spun was, you know, the US is going downhill fast, you know, the middle class is being wiped out because nobody could afford to buy a home anymore, you know, the only people who are buying houses are big Wall Street firms and, you know, all this stuff, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But then, once home prices do start to come down and level off, and once rents do start to come down and taper off, now the narrative is spun 180 degrees in the opposite directions to the next extreme, which is this is going to be worse than 2008. Home prices are going to decline way more. This is going to be the worst crash ever. When I thought the first narrative was, you know, it's so terrible because nobody can afford a home. But once things start to come down, then you panic and pandemonium in the other direction. And that is market psychology pretty much on display, right? And that's also a pessimistic attitude on display. Very, very seldom, right? Very, very, very seldom does anybody that has that type of frame make any money at all in the market, because essentially it'll leave you in a state of paralysis. You'll be totally paralyzed where you can't even make a decision, right? And I used to be like that in college. I used to consume like as a teenager, I would just consume, you know, all these macro fear stuff, right? And it may be right on the surface, you know, long term, but the biggest thing that it does, it'll always keep you sidelined and out of every single rally all the time. So it's important to be a participant, right? If you're in the United States specifically, you know, if you were born and raised here or you've immigrated here, it's important to be a participant in the society, in the free market system, in capitalism. You know, it's here for the taking. It's sort of like, I always explain it, you know, the pool is going to be cold. When you jump in the water, you're like, oh my gosh, it's freezing. But then after, you know, 5 minutes, you know, you kind of get used to the waters and now you can make some plays. But if you're never in the ocean, if you never go out, if you're a surfer, right? If you're never in the water, you're never going to catch any of the waves. Sometimes you're going to get clobbered by the waves, you know, thrown ashore. But other times you're going to ride a monster wave and have the ride of your life. But you've got to get in the game. And many of the commentators, I should say, I'll call them commentators, that are like, we're predicting the biggest crash since '08. We're predicting the biggest crash since 1989. Almost all of them, if I had to bet money on it, right? And I don't know, I don't have any proof. But if I had to bet money on it, almost none of them have any skin in the game. They don't probably manage any money. They probably have none of their own capital at risk. They're only just commentating on it. They're not a participant. So I think the term, you know, do your own research is thrown around a lot, but I think it's just very basic and I think it's important. But you have to take risks. You got to get risk on in the market. Doesn't mean you have to be in the market all the time, but you've got to, in order to grow your wealth in order to grow your net worth, just do a historical study. You gotta own things. If you've just saved all of your money throughout your entire working career in cash, right? Put your cash under your nightstand. You've probably lost about 50% of your purchasing power, right? You've got to put your money to work somewhere, somehow. Now, that doesn't mean the market's going to go up all the time. You could have more COVID-19s, right? More pandemics, right? Where the market goes down 30% in 2 weeks. There's going to be more of those, right? I can almost guarantee there's going to be more of those. There's going to be more, big geopolitical events that shake the market, right? Like 9/11. But you kind of got to have this mental fortitude to stick that out and get some risk on, right? Calculated risk. If you think about all the big players that have, like Warren Buffett, that made crazy money, the vast majority of his wealth happened, I believe, after the age of 50, right? That's really when compounding takes place and kicks in. There's always going to be something to worry about. There's a really good line from Jack Bogle, passed away about 2 years ago. The book is called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing. It's a great book, very short read. But he says there's always going to be something to worry about. And if the worries, the global macro fears, keep you out of the market, it will almost always keep you out of the market. If anybody in this chat is over the age of 50, think about all of the life experiences you've had. Think about all the times you woke up, you turned on the TV, and there was something horrifying that you've witnessed. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to war with Iraq, we're invading Iraq, we're going into Afghanistan. Even older, think about the people who lived through, Vietnam. There's so much stuff. Think about the people who lived through the Cold War, right? When we thought we were going to go to nuclear war. Now we're living through a potential nuclear war, World War III scenario. So there's always going to be something to worry about. So just do things within your control and don't worry about the rest. This is the Seagram building here. This is my favorite commercial office tower in the city. I love this building. I believe Centerbridge or Centerview Partners is in here. Stunning building. Oh, cool. Jeff says you're turning 50 on Mother's Day. Love that. Happy birthday. This crazy looking building is 425 Park Avenue. There was a really cool Bloomberg, not really docu-series, but video made about that building. I believe it's the most eco-friendly building in the entire city. This building right here. It's like 100% green and sustainable. And that's the temporary headquarters of Citadel. LB says most of what you worry about never happens. That's true. Someone's talking about the squatter situation. Yeah, the squatter situation, it does suck in New York City. Essentially, if you break into a place and you're there for 30 days, technically you can claim, you can claim that you're a tenant, and that means the landlord has to go through a formal eviction process. But I would say this, a lot of the stories that you see on the news, like I was watching this Fox News clip, somebody emailed me, that this guy in Georgia is trying to get squatters out of his house. You know, some people welcome that kind of nonsense. And I'm not trying to victim blame, but there's always more to the story. I'll just say that. There's always more to the story. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, you could go through the right process and get a tenant in there and then they don't pay. That happens all the time. That happens all the time. But in this particular case, this guy in Georgia, he used to just let random people stay at his house for free. Like, that's a big red flag, okay? Don't let random people stay at your house for free, okay? I mean, think about the people you're gonna attract, so. But these are happening with mostly vacant properties. So if you own, you know, multiple homes, multiple properties, I would install security cameras in them. You know, you gotta be able to monitor your properties. You can't just leave them totally vacant, or have a neighbor go in and check up on them, right? Or have a friend. It's very, very important. If you're a property owner, you gotta watch it like a hawk. It's a business. You know, many people may not take it as a business, but if you're a landlord, right, even if you have one unit, even if you just own a single family home and you're renting that out, you've got to treat that like a business. And if you don't, you're gonna get burned, right? Being a landlord is a business just like anything else. It's a job, it's a business. You got to pay attention to your asset. Trade Brigade says, I've got a tenant who wants to bail on the lease early, hoping he doesn't get any ideas from these headlines. Yeah, I would say if he wants to bail on the lease early, screw it. I'd say let him, man. Get him out of there, you know, because a lot of times, if in this environment, if you're really, really hard strong and you say no, you know, these guys could be a real big pain for you. And the rental market, I don't know where you're located, but generally speaking, if it's like a middle market rent, that thing's probably not going to sit vacant for too long. You could probably get somebody in there pretty quick. I mean, the demand, I think I told you guys this, but I was expecting this snowbird season in South Florida to be significantly slower than last year. Significantly. And when I mean significantly, it would still be very busy. But over the last 2 years, it's just been bonkers how crazy it's been in South Florida for, you know, people wanting to stay there for 3 to 6 months, right, to do snowbird. So I thought this year, you know, everybody's over the work from home stuff. Everybody, you know, we're gonna get back to normalcy. This year it was nuts. This year was crazy. I mean, the demand for people wanting to rent anywhere between 1 month to 4 months. I mean, it was just like an overwhelming amount of inquiries, particularly for the month of March. It was insane. It's the Aston Martin showroom. Trade Brigade says he's a good guy, A+ property, stable income. Copy that. Well, that's good. Mark, I don't get your question. In Florida, if somebody just moves in your house or condo? Well, I don't know. I'm a New Yorker, but if you think New Yorkers are crazy, like, I love all my Floridians, okay? I love the state of Florida. I own property there. But some Floridians are crazy, okay? And I would never even think about trying to break into somebody's house in the state of Florida. You know, they'd probably blast the brains out the back of your skull. So I think that's probably the most like horrible risk reward you could ever take, is breaking in somebody's house in this environment in the state of Florida. Insane. Just go get a job. I mean, the risk reward there is so poor. That's why I don't understand criminals that much. It's like, okay, you're gonna break into somebody's home. Maybe you get away with like $50,000, $20,000 worth of stuff, and you're risking your freedom. You can't even put a dollar denomination on that. So risk your whole freedom and your livelihood to be unemployable for 20 grand, 30 grand. Just seems absolutely ridiculous. It seems ridiculous, right? I don't understand. Don't understand. Yeah, but the state of Florida has those, I think it's called the stand your ground stuff. I mean, sometimes I'll be honest, I think they take that too far sometimes. But look, I think in this environment, maybe it's needed a little bit overcorrect, but yeah. Now, I think a lot of those gun manufacturing stocks have been performing really, really horrible. I remember somebody was trying to pitch me on Smith & Wesson, I think. They're like, yeah, my bull thesis on that is it's gonna get crazy, it's gonna be Armageddon. I'm like, dude, if anything, like, you gotta think about the bigger picture. Like, what is the TAM? What is the total addressable market? You know, it's not like a super turbocharged growth stock. Like, how much money could the company possibly make? Like, you got to think big time. You know, if you do a case study on all of the leading stocks throughout history, like the top performing stocks, all of them have a very, very common characteristic, and that these companies solved really, really big problems. This guy is -2 points for him. So you make a crazy turn, right, when the street is all wet, when it's raining. You nearly hit all those pedestrians just so you could sit at this red light. -2 points. But yeah, I mean, all those companies they've either they had a product or service that fundamentally changed the world, and they were in markets that had a massive TAM, or a total addressable market, right? So I mean, if you think about all of these internet stocks that have gone absolutely gangbusters since the lows of 2008, well, what's the total addressable market of the internet? It's infinite, right? Well, I mean, what's the total addressable market of AI tools? We don't even know. I honestly don't even think you could put a TAM on AI, because there's just so many things that we're finding out that it can do every single day, right? So think about how big is the problem this company is solving, what is the TAM, and model that company to other companies that have already done it. So an interesting example of this would be, and I'm not saying this is an endorsement to buy the stock, this is just kind of just a chat here, but the company Celsius. Anybody familiar with that company, Celsius? Now, they make energy drinks. Apparently they make healthier energy drinks. I don't know, again, I don't know anything if that's like a false claim. A lot of these companies make false claims now. But they're an energy drink company based out of Fort Lauderdale, I think. I think they're a Florida company. And many analysts on the street are modeling the growth trajectory to Monster. What many people don't know is Monster has been one of the greatest performing stocks of all time. Monster beverage. So if you can track, right, and if you're an equity research analyst at an investment bank, a lot of times this is what you're doing, depending on which sector you're covering. You try to find companies with similar growth trajectories to similar companies that have already reached their peak, so to speak, right? And you can model the revenue trajectory, you can model the earnings trajectory. And Celsius is very, 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 very similar in terms of growth trajectory to Monster Beverage. Very similar. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams every night, usually starting at 8:30. And tomorrow, just as a quick reminder, tomorrow right as the market closes, we will be sending out our free investing newsletter, Behind the Street. If you want to receive it, just type !news, NEWS in the chat. And the Nightbot will drop the link to our Substack. So we publish every other week on our Substack. We do a whole market overview. US equity markets, emerging markets. Check it out. I know Joel PM, this is the best business model, water in a can. What about that boxed water company? I think Will Smith's son is a big investor in that or something like that. But yeah, at some of these coffee shops in Manhattan and these trendy cities, they sell boxed water. And, you know, the whole pitch is that, hey, if you buy this boxed water, you're gonna solve climate change. So give us $4 for the water. I mean, it's the biggest, it's the best scam. I mean, it's the best business model ever. But look, if it's marketed, if it's trendy, if it's cool, if it's hip, if it's going towards a good cause, you know, I'm just making a joke, but I get it. But it seems a little crazy. You know, people spending $4 for just a boxed water. But they sell. I mean, I see them all over the city. Now, what's that other company I actually give them a lot of credit. Liquid Death, I believe, is the company. Oops, sorry. Liquid Death is crushing it. Yeah, KML says Monster Energy, 59,000% return in the last 20 years. Yeah, it's one of the best performing stocks of all time. And not a lot of people know about it because you would never think that a company like Monster Beverage, you know, would be one of the best performing stocks ever. It must be almost midnight. I gotta get home. Someone says I didn't get the notification. Yeah, YouTube now, even if you're subscribed to a channel, you need to make sure the notification bell is ticked, and then you will get the notification.